guys, how's it going, and welcome back to Sully's Models. So, it's going to be a bit of a different one, this one, because, of course, obviously, if you guys have been following me for a while, particularly if you've been following me a while on Facebook and Instagram, you know, normally I do aircraft, and I tend to get to a point where I need to do something a little bit different, because, you know, admittedly, it does get a bit samey, in a fashion, kind of get bored of it to a degree, and you know, sometimes it's just nice to have a bit of a change. Don't know if you guys are like that as well. You know, so I've got to that point now where I need to do something a little bit different, and this entire series is going to be kind of something a little bit different, because it's going to be basically looking at like kind of like building a vignette, but also a load of kind of how-to type videos. So we're going to be looking at a numerous of sort of kind of smallish type details, a bit of weathering, and that sort of thing. So of course, again, if you guys have been following for, you know how much I am obsessed with weathering things, and this is probably one of my favourite sort of things to do, and it's a good subject to do it on. So we're going to be looking at a car. Now, vehicles I find very easy and quick to build. That's why I think I preferred mainly doing the aircraft, because they take a little bit longer, and also the painting does take a while to do as well. But with vehicles, or particularly tanks, you know, you can do a lot more with them. You know, you can do a load of really cool little weathering details. You can put loads of stowage on them. You know, they're great for like little sort of vignettes and dioramas. But I've had this idea going around for a while of sort of doing an abandoned car, and I've gone for a 24 scale, so it's a little bit bigger than normal, and I'm going to try and pronounce this properly. Aoshima, I think they pronounce, or Oshima. Yeah, something like that. Oshima. Oh, no, I can't pronounce it. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. I really do apologise, but I think it's not Oshima. And it's a Nissan. No, it's not. It is a Nissan. It's a Nissan Skyline 2000GT-R. Well, not very good on cars. I think that just explains it all. But I thought it'd be something like really cool, and it was quite a cool little series to do, and also sort of show you some of my weathering types and techniques, things that I like to use, because I know most of my videos normally just like, this is how I'm building this aircraft, to do this bit, do that bit, and I thought, you know, I'll probably try and do a few more that's a little bit more detailed. It's probably the best way of describing it. So that's kind of like how this series is kind of going, and in this episode we'll be looking at the interior, so it's a little bit of a shorter video than what I normally do. I'm going to try and do this probably more in stages rather than just do like a mash a clump of bits and pieces together. So the interior is going to be one thing, and sort of giving you a good idea of how to do sort of like, you know, sort of interior of an abandoned car, like, you know, rip seats is basically what we're going to be looking at, and a bit of kind of texturing. Admittedly, you're not really going to probably see all that much on the inside anyway, but you know, because of the idea I've got on my head, not, you'll see this later on. I don't want to tell you too much straight off the bat. Keep a little bit of suspense going on. But yeah, so you're probably not going to see all that much of it anyway, but it's kind of like a cool thing to do anyway. So without further ado, and losing the plot completely because I've lost all trail of thought, we'll get straight into the video. Okay, so we're going to start with looking at the car seats, and what I want to do is make it look like the stuffing of the seat is coming out. So as you can see, what I've done is I've cut a few holes in there. Of course, with the back, that does cause a little bit of a problem, because you are going to see that, but we'll sort that out later. And I've also put a couple of cuts in the back seat as well. So what I'm going to use for the seat stuffing, or the foam seat stuffing, is some sponge. Nice and, you know, easy to use. Plus the fact with this stuff, you know, pulling it apart as well, you know, gives you some nice sort of, you know, rough edges, whatever you want to call it. So so what we're going to do is we're going to use some super glue. This stuff dries relatively quickly, but it does also melt the foam as well. So I'm going to put some in there. So I'm going to tear a few pieces apart and work from that. There we go. So it sticks quite quick. It's quite fast drying glue, this one is, so, but super glue and it makes things a lot easier. So there we go, nice and easy there. You can see a nice little bulging out there. So I'll quickly go and do the others, do the bits and pieces, and we'll see how it looks. So moving on, I've put some mini put in the back and smoothed the back out to make it look all nice and flat. And here is where we try and make it look a little bit more realistic. Now what I've done is I've roughed up the surface a little bit with a little bit of light sandpaper. And what I'm going to do now is going to add some PVA glue and some tissue paper together, and just sort of force it into all the creases that are in the seat. And while it's still wet, I'm going to pull out the areas where the stuffing is and make it look like it's been ripped and sort of like the stuffing's all like bursting out. Okay, so that's all dry and primed. I'm going to make it try and look a little bit more standouty. So I'm going to use black and white, just a pretty random mix to get something that I quite like. And basically just dry brush it on, get some of those highlights in, get some of those raised parts. I'm just also trying to make it look at kind of old as well. It's not something I'm particularly really good at, especially when it's black. I'm not very good at making black look old. It's, you're probably not going to see all this much of it anyway in the car. Very well, I don't think, but we will see when we come to it. But, you know, so kind of get a rough idea there. Particularly hitting all the raised parts, but just giving it a general going over, and it'll pick it out on its own. Trying to get some bits that are just so really strong like that bit there. These are the more difficult parts, the flat parts. Fine, so actual paint on the brush, that'll help. A bit of water in it, spread it out a bit more. go across actually. I'll do this. The sponge. Tap that out. Saved it. We've saved it. It's not that too bad. I've got a tide mark. Let's go over it again. There we go. Not too bad. It's a little bit better, but points are just giving you the idea there. Just like that. Okay. So what I'm going to try and do now is pick out the stuffing. So I'm going to use this bone white from Game Colours, which is basically the Lego. Put it on the side of the palette. If it hadn't dried up, I should check that beforehand. There we go. A little bridge. Just do my best to try and pick out this foam, and I know it's quite bright, but what I might do is probably maybe give it a wash of some sort to bring that down afterwards. But this is at the moment just giving you an idea. Try not to go over. Do it on there because it's still wet. A bit of water, we can tuck that away. Long enough to dry. There we go. But yeah, so what I'll do is I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll make black wash, I think. And I think that will turn all this down and give it a bit of an aged look. Don't want it looking like the stuffing's just been pulled out, because the idea of this model is the fact that, you know, it's been sat there for, you know, ever and a day, hasn't been loved, and nature has done its thing, and probably a bit of vandalism as well. So, but yeah, that's just at present, just to give you an idea. So we'll let that dry out, and then I'll go over this with a bit of a dark wash and tap it down. So there you go, it's all ready and done and ready to go inside the car. All I did there afterwards was put a bit of a wash over the sponge to make it look a little bit older, and I still put on a little bit of white to give it that sort of idea of that white moss that you get on leather seats. So there we go, that's all done, and it says ready to go in the car. So there we go, guys. That's basically how I did the interior. Nice and simple, really easy, and it's pretty much half of that stuff is stuff you'd possibly have alone around the house. You can actually, I didn't mention it earlier in the video, I know, but what you could also do is actually can use sort of like baby wipes. They're quite good for sort of textured materials. I've used them before with tarpaulins and like bivvies, tents, top things. All you'll need to do with those is kind of give them a little bit of a swill out, get all the whatever's in the baby wipe, and you know, sort of let it dry out, and then you know when you come to use it, again water down PVA glue, just sort of dip it in and then just sort of mould it to the way you want. It's very versatile. It does after a while, when it gets really wet, does start ripping. So be careful. But unless that's what you want to go for, then obviously that's perfect. So, but yeah, that's something else that you can also use for that. And of course, sponges, you generally have that sort of thing lying around anyway. So yeah, so that's obviously that's the interior done. The next episode we are going to be looking at the car shell itself, and basically rusting type techniques and that kind of thing in that episode. So stay tuned for that. If you are new here, please give us a like and subscribe. Do very much appreciate it. Also appreciate you guys that obviously already subscribed to the channel. It means a great deal to me. Put the bell notification on. Of course, that's going to tell you when the next video is out, because I am going to Scooby-Doo when that's going to be, but hopefully it shouldn't be too far away. If you guys would also like to support me, there's a link in the description below to support us there as well. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're going to enjoy the next few episodes in this build, and I'll catch you again soon.